O2C1 Part 3 is all about writing quadratic equations. So we have to recall back from outcome 1, we talked about factored form. Factored form looked like this with your a value. You had x minus some kind of number, we're calling it p here, and then x minus another number, we're calling it q. What was really nice about factored form was that these numbers, that p and q, represented the x-intercepts of your graph. In this lesson, we're going to work backwards. They're going to give us the x-intercepts. So we're going to take our x-intercepts or our solutions. We're first going to write them in factored form. So it'll look like this guy up here with two sets of parentheses. And then we will write them in standard form. So this is guided notes. It has kind of all of the directions written out for you. We'll go through an example together, and then we'll kind of work through from there. So example 1 says write a quadratic equation in standard form with the given solutions. So it gives me 1 and it gives me 3 over 4. So my first step is to set each solution equal to x. We know that solutions are written as x equals, so we're going to start there, writing it as x equals 1 and x equals 3 over 4. In step 2, we want to get each equation equal to 0 by moving the terms to the other side. Sometimes this is super easy, like on this first one, to move this positive 1 over, we would subtract 1 and we would get x minus 1 equals 0. We really want to avoid fractions, so to undo a fraction, we will multiply by the denominator. So with this 3 over 4, they said, let's get rid of this denominator by multiplying each side by 4. On the right-hand side, the times 4 and divided by 4 cancel, so that's how they got just 4x equals 3. My last step then, to move this positive 3 to the other side, we subtract and we get 4x minus 3. From here in step 3, we're going to write one equation by placing both of the factors inside of parentheses. So we took the x minus 1, put it in parentheses, the 4x minus 3, put it in parentheses. They're being multiplied together, so there's no sign, no plus or minus in there, and it's equal to 0. One quick note, if your directions said to write this in factored form, you would be done. This right here is factored form. In this example, they wanted me to write it in standard form, so we need to keep going. In step 4, to get this into standard form, we are going to distribute and then combine like terms. So distributing, we would start with taking this x and multiplying it over. So x times 4x gave us that 4x squared. X times negative 3 gives me negative 3x. Then I move on and distribute the negative 1. Negative 1 times 4x is negative 4x. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. From there, we had some like terms. In the middle here, this negative 3x and negative 4x are like terms, so we can combine them together, giving me negative 7x. Notice that we did not combine the x squareds with just the x's. X squared is different than x, so those are not like terms. This right here is now in standard form. So this would be our final answer. Go ahead and take a minute to read over example 2. Very, very similar, following those steps again. Make sure you're understanding example 2, and then we'll walk through example 3. All right, example 3 gives me these solutions. I'm not seeing any directions here, but I am going to assume that we should be writing these in standard form. So following those steps, we will start with taking each of my solutions and setting them as x equals. From here, I want to make sure that each of my equations is equal to 0. kind of weird that this x equals 0 is already equal to 0, so we're done here. I don't need to move the 0 over. I do want to move this positive 4 over, so we will subtract. So we have x minus 4 equals 0. From here, I'm going to write both of my things here in parentheses. So I should just have x, and I have x minus 4. This is all still equal to 0. Technically, you could put this as x plus 0 if you wanted to. You definitely don't need to though, but if it helps you to always have a number after the x, you could put that plus 0. All right, we're going to go ahead and distribute. Only one thing to distribute this time, and it's that x. So x times x gives me x squared, and x times negative 4 is negative 4x. This right here is my final answer in standard form, and it's equal to 0. Go ahead and pause your video to try number 4, and then I will show you the answers. Alright, here's the answer to number 4. Again, we started with taking our solutions and writing them as x equals. The minus 2 isn't too difficult. We just add the 2 over and then it's equal to 0, so we have x plus 2. The fractions can be kind of tricky, so we started with multiplying by the denominator. So I multiplied both sides by 3. That gave me 3x on this left-hand side. The 3's cancel on the right, leaving me with just the 1. And then to move that positive 1 over, we subtract. So we have 3x minus 1. We put both of those into parentheses and set it equal to 0. And then from there, we distribute. So x times 3x gave me 3x squared. Then I had x times negative 1. That was negative x. 2 times 3x gives me 6x, and 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, still equals to 0. My last step is to combine like terms. I'm noticing the two middle terms again, both have just x's, so negative x plus 6x should give me a positive 5x. As you're doing these, make sure that all of your answers are written as equals to 0. It's a common mistake for students to go too quickly and forget that equals 0 with the final answer.